Tonight is the night, bright lights, high crowd, yeah, we came to throw down, everybody get loud. Tonight is the night, A-list, can't miss, when we burn it to the ground, everybody get down. Tonight is the night, we stay climbing while our fame kept rising, steady climbing, now we on top.
And welcome, one and all, to my Monday Night Raw review for the September 7th Labor Day edition of Raw. Raw last night took place from the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. And these are going to be my thoughts and opinions on the show overall. Did this show do enough to build in for the Night of Champions pay-per-view on September 20th? Well, let's find out. We kick Raw off with the opening video, and then we have the WWE and United States Champion Seth Rollins come out, and he goes on and on, he rambles on. If you've seen one Seth Rollins promo, you've probably seen this one before. I just feel like it's the same promo over and over again, and Seth is getting much better at promos. It's not his fault. It's just this is what they're telling him to do, and I just feel like it's not really helping him. If it was short, sweet, and to the point, it would be much more effective. Kind of like how Sheamus came out later on. I felt like that was much more to the point. But we'll get to that later. But Seth comes out. He said he's pissed that Sting has this statue and that he wants it back. But that he has the ability to solidify his legacy by beating two legends in both Sting and John Cena at Night of Champions, as he's scheduled to face Cena for the U.S. title and Sting for the WWE Heavyweight Championship at Night of Champions. And then Stinger appears on the Jumbotron, and he's like, I got your statue, bitch, pretty much, so why don't you come and find me? If you really want this statue as bad as you're saying that you want it, then you'll do whatever it takes to come after me. However, before Seth could answer that challenge, we had Mr. Money in the Bank Sheamus, yes, you've probably forgotten he is Mr. Money in the Bank, come out and had a reminder, and I really liked how this went down. Sheamus said to Rollins that I'm Mr. Money in the Bank, and that I could cash in tonight on Raw, I could cash in on SmackDown, or I could make your life a living hell by cashing in at Night of Champions, and then you have to wrestle 3 times in one night. So I really liked that exchange. I thought Rollins' diatribe at the beginning went a little long, but I liked seeing Sting with the statue. That was good. And the Sheamus bit at the end was a good promo. So this was an okay segment. This was okay. And then next up we had our first contest of the evening, our first match. We had the Boss, Sasha Banks, in action, taking on Paige. I really enjoyed this match. This was a good match. And it went longer than 1:40 like last week. So I was glad to see these women get the time that they needed to have a good match. And they really did. This was one of the better matches tonight. Banks, what can I say? It's good seeing the Boss on Raw, after not really getting to see that much of her, at SummerSlam. Her team was eliminated fairly early, and then the night after she wasn't on Raw. So, both of the women look good here. They were hitting their moves. They were really picking up the pace. The crowd was getting into it. Like I said, Sasha was able to secure the win with a roll-up on Paige, and with that, Sasha is still undefeated on Raw. So that is great to see, and I hope they continue with that. And this was just a good outing from the women's division, and I was glad to see that the crowd was into it, unlike how the crowd shit all over them 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn. So it was good to see the women have this type of outing, because this was a really good match. So I enjoyed it. So Sasha Banks with the win. Moving on, we had a quick match. We had the Ascension versus Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. I felt this was effective because a lot of people would say it was short, there wasn't much to it. The Ascension got lost, Ambrose and Reigns. But it was just a match designed to show Ambrose and Reigns are a pretty good team, and do they have what it takes to beat the Wyatt family? And this match didn't last long, but Ambrose and Reigns were really able to dominate the Ascension, and a spear from Reigns onto Connor allowed for Ambrose to hit the dirty deeds on Victor and allowed their team to pick up the win. And then afterwards, the newly reformed Wyatt family appeared on the Titantron and said that the apocalypse will be coming for both Ambrose and Reigns, and there is nothing you can pretty much do to stop us. So this was okay. I liked what they did here. It wasn't much, but I felt it was effective enough. And then we had a match that some people might not have enjoyed, but I actually liked Ryback versus Seth Rollins. This match actually got a lot of time, and I really thought this was probably the best match I've seen them have together, because I've seen them wrestle before in just okay matches, but I felt like this was a much better match than I've seen from them previously. Ryback early on was able to keep Rollins down. Eventually, Rollins eventually got Ryback outside the ring, and he kept doing suicide dives, trying to get Ryback to stay outside the ring, and then Ryback was eventually able to get some momentum going. However, towards the end of the match, Sting appeared on the Titantron, and he basically said, "Seth, remember, I still got your statue." And with that distraction, Ryback was able to get a roll-up and beat Seth Rollins. So that was interesting to see. And like I said, I thought these two had a pretty good match. It wasn't the best, but I thought it was pretty good for what it was. Definitely picked up towards the end. It started off slow, but it definitely hit its point halfway through. And then we had Summer Rae's apology. Now, I like Summer Rae, and I really think that her and Rusev are really making this work, them being together. However, I just felt like this promo, the material that she had to work with, it was just scripted, phony bullshit, and this feud is just... I was originally a fan of it, however, the direction that they're going in, this TMZ video they played before it was stupid and clearly shows that Vince is freaking out of touch. And why can't they let these wrestlers and women just speak from the heart and go from bullet points? Why does everything have to be so scripted and cliched and phony? You could clearly see it in this segment. It really didn't do nothing. And Ziggler came out, pretty much defended himself and said, Rusev, you're lying through your teeth. And then Dolph hit a super kick and got a couple right hands in, and Ziggler chased Rusev and Summer Rae out of the ring. And then we announced Rusev and Ziggler again at Night of Champions. So we won't be getting that mixed tag match, sadly, because Lana injured her hand while she was training, so she'll be out a number of months, so that sucks to see. But this segment, it really didn't do it for me, so this was definitely a low point of the show. And then we get to the lowest of lows, the most boring part of this show. The part of the show that was so boring that I actually turned the show off and started watching Raw is War from 1998, because my God, was this match boring as hell. And you can guess what it was. Randy Orton versus Sheamus. I can't really tell you what happened in this match, because I didn't pay attention to jack shit in this match. I'm sorry. I've seen them wrestle. I believe this is the 6th time since July that they have wrestled each other. And when they announced this match, I forgot to mention earlier on, Rollins was backstage with the Authority, and Triple H said, you're going to wrestle 2 matches tonight to prepare you for your upcoming title defense at Night of Champions. Title defenses, plural. It's going to be you versus Ryback, and then later on in the main event, you teaming up with the New Day to take on Cena and the Primetime Players. We'll get to that later. But Orton versus Sheamus, seen it way too many freaking times. What are you doing with Randy Orton? He could be he's great. I know he's great, but they're doing absolutely nothing with him. And Sheamus, I know he could be a badass heel, but they're doing nothing with him. They're just having this boring, bland feud continue. Nobody gave a shit. This match, I thought, sucked. And I was really out of it at this point of the show, so I can't really tell you what happened during this match. I'm sorry, I'm screaming, but that's my little rant. We are sick to death of seeing these matches, same matches over and over and over again. And I can't wait until Raw goes back to 2 hours. Just saying. So then afterwards, let's see, Orton wins via pinfall. Who cares? So the Wyatt family eventually came out, surrounded Orton, and eventually left him laying on the mat. So will this lead to Orton teaming up with Reigns and Ambrose at Night of Champions? Or is this going to write Orton off of TV? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. So this was the lowest point of the show. And I also forgot to mention, there was a backstage segment between The New Day, they were playing the trombone, and then Edge and Christian showed up, and Seth Rollins was there as well. And he's just looking at The New Day like, what the hell? I got a team with you guys tonight? And then Edge and Christian come in, and Edge is like, oh, you didn't finish the job when you almost threatened to, paralyze me by curb stomping my neck into the Money in the Bank briefcase. And he's like, if that was me, I would have finished the job. And then the Dudley boys show up, and then we have a reunion of Edge and Christian and the Dudley boys, and it was freaking awesome. I was marking out, and then, Woods is playing the trombone, and then Christian brings out the kazoo, and then he starts playing on it, and then, Big E takes the kazoo and kind of almost eats it in his mouth and spits it back out. That was the segment of the night. I really, really enjoyed that segment. So that was great to see. Edge and Christian and the Dudley boys and New Day as well. That was just fantastic to see. So after Orton versus Sheamus for the 1,000th time, we had a quick, pretty much, it was a squash match. The Dudley Boys versus Los Matadors. And pretty much, Matadors got no offense in. Dudley Boys won with the Dudley Death Drop. And afterwards, it looks like, hopefully they're dropping this terrible gimmick, because Diego or whoever, Fernando, one of the Matadors attacked Torito and laid him out, and then the Dudleys came back in and put Diego through a table. So for what it was all right. But also, it was announced that next week, the Primetime Players in New Day, there will be a tag title match on Raw, and the winner of that match will face the Dudleys at Night of Champions. So we'll see how that gets set up next week on Raw. So that was that, and then, sorry, my computer's having a moment. After that, we had the segment with Nikki Bella. The Team Bella came out to the ring, and basically Nikki said, in 1 week's time, I will become the longest reigning Divas Champion. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. And they put the Bellatron up on the ring, and she's basically like, I'm going to have a big party. The biggest party ever seen in WWE and whatnot. And yeah, and then Team PCB came out, and then you had Charlotte make her way to the ring with Paige and Becky Lynch. And Charlotte said, no, you're not going to become the longest reigning Divas Champion, because I talked to the Authority, and they granted me, next week on Raw, it will be Charlotte versus Nikki Bella for the Divas Championship. So I was very excited to hear that. I was like, all right, this is hopefully going to be in the main event, and I would hope to see Charlotte beat Nikki Bella for the Divas Championship, because she deserves it. And then, we can get that title off Nikki and finally have a champion that is credible enough to hold that Divas Championship. So I hope that match is going to be in the main event. That should be the main event of Raw next week. Why not do it? It happens on NXT. you can certainly do it on your flagship show, so you better do it. And I also forgot to mention, The Miz took on Cesaro before this. It was a pretty good match for what it was. Yeah, I was surprised. Of course, you have Cesaro in there. He's a great worker. But he was able to carry The Miz to a pretty good match that it looked like. And then the Big Show came out and interrupted. Nobody gave a shit. And he chased Miz out of the ring, and match ended in double countout, and then Big Show knocked out Cesaro. So Cesaro was pretty much an afterthought, even though he's getting a pretty good reaction from the crowd, it seemed like. And it looks like we're going to have a Big Show and Miz feud. Yes, you heard me. A Big Show and Miz feud. Who cares? Cesaro. Push him. Why not? He's great. Vince. Whatever. So that was disappointing to see. And then we had our main event of the evening, which I thought was very good. We had the Primetime Players teaming up with John Cena to take on Seth Rollins and the New Day. And this was just a fun match. You know, good back and forth action between both groups. Like I said, I liked how Rollins teased, locking up with Cena at the beginning, but eventually he tagged Big E in. And then Cena, later on in the match, was able to get the hot tag to Titus O'Neil. And then eventually, Young's taken on the New Day outside, and then Cena was able to pick up Kofi before this, Cena had Rollins locked into the STFU, and then Rollins was able to tag in Kofi, and then Kofi jumped, and Cena, afterwards, after he jumped, was able to pick him up, and then hit him with the Attitude Adjustment. And Cena and the Primetime Players won. Pretty good match for the main event, and then afterwards, Cena and the PTP did the Millions of Dollars dance, so that was fun to see. And then Sting eventually appeared on the Titantron again, and he said, "Seth, here's your statue. I've been waiting all night. You didn't show up." And then Sting takes the statue and dumps it into a garbage truck and crushes it. And then Rollins is freaking out. He's throwing a fit and a tantrum like a little baby. And I like the way that the show ended with the statue being destroyed. So overall, this wasn't really that great of a Raw. It just felt like an average run-of-the-mill show. I mean, nothing too special happened on it. But it was what it was, and I'm going to give it a C-. I definitely thought it was better than last week's, looking back on it. Definitely, because last week's show I was not a fan of. So hopefully next week, for the go-home show for Night of Champions, they put on a really good show. Hopefully. We'll see. So that is that. That is my thoughts and opinions on last night's episode of Raw. Few channel plugs. Check out the Lexman's channel. Check out Generic Luchador's channel. And the Gamer Gang channel that I am a part of. And also, hopefully later today, I'm going to be watching the Stone Cold podcast with guests Edge and Christian. And I will try and have a review up either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. So I'll be working on that. So thank you for everyone who watched this video. Like, subscribe for more content. And with that, I am out. Peace.